If you have ever watched a project unravel because of poor planning, misaligned teams, or reactive decision-making, this episode is going to hit home. Because whether you're managing infrastructure, construction, or technical delivery, project success doesn't start on site. It starts in the planning room. And too often, planners are brought in too late, given too little, and left out of the decisions that matter the most.
Planning really starts before you actually start your construction plan. Planning starts in planning the team.
So we're sitting down with Douglas Marr, Chief Planner at Downer Group, who brings over 3 decades of real-world experience from remote mega projects to pulling a site back from being 9 months behind the schedule. Doug has been at the coalface and the boardroom table of Australia's most complex builds.
We need to get away with this old school idea that the planner is somebody who is just an element of your project there. The planner is one of the most key elements of your project there, and having them engaged as early as possible, that's going to drive more success.
In this episode, you will learn how great planners are the key ingredient to the project's success and the leadership team. Why your planner should be your project manager's right hand from the day one, and how standard systems, risk foresight, and softer skills are the real drivers of on time and on the budget delivery.
When we're looking at planning as a leadership, if you don't have the right person in the right role to start off with, you're going to fail.
If you work in or around project execution, you don't want to miss this. Let's go beyond the plan. Good morning, Douglas. It's great to have you here today, and I'm really excited about the subject we have got today: planners, schedulers, the power of planning, turning strategy into execution. That's one of my favorite subjects, obviously myself coming from, this area, busy with the, early revisions of the Primavera and Microsoft project and all, even Excel in those times. But yeah, before we dive into this, tell us a bit more about yourself. Who is Douglas Marr, and why people should listen to you?
Well, look, thanks very much for having me, Ali. It's a absolute pleasure to talk about planning and scheduling.
Sure.
I like to talk. That's one thing I do like to talk.
Let's do it. That's why we're here today.
Why should people listen to me? Well, essentially, I've been in the construction industry for a bit over 30 years now.
Amazing.
I'm the chief planner of Downer Group. I've been in that role for 13 years now, but prior to that, I started off as an apprentice electrician at the BHP Steelworks in Newcastle in the mid-90s. Wow, mid-90s, it seems so long ago now. I'm a trade electrician, and then I also went on to do electrical engineering.
Right.
So it was always trying to learn something new about the industry, not just one single facet about the industry. Yeah. So for me, I spent a lot of time working on remote projects out in the desert there. And the challenges that we faced out there, they weren't just necessarily challenges which are associated with the building. Yeah. You've got environmental challenges, cultural challenges, everything that gets thrown at you. And you've got limited resources, and you have to be innovative. And you actually have to plan. And that's when I first started getting into planning and scheduling.
I see.
Was where I was a supervisor, and it was at the Tomago aluminium plant in Newcastle there. And I thought I was great. And I didn't need anyone to tell me what to do. And I'd been given a small job there. And one of the older clients representatives there, great guy, Ron Thomas, absolutely fabulous human being. He was trying to tell me what to do, and I was young, I was brash, I knew everything. I was like, no, you don't. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me. I know what I'm doing.
I'm the guy. I know. Just back off. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So, and it was a really simple. It was a simple shutdown. Change out a motor. Change out an isolator. Very, very simple. To me, I thought this is something I've got it. Absolute disaster. Absolute disaster for me. So I had not planned to the integration with the production. I had not done enough of the pre-work there. I tried to do a lot of the pre-work during that shut time. I only had myself 4 hours, and I got to the point, and I had about probably an hour to go. I realised I can't finish this job. I can't finish it. Right? And then, Ron was really in me, you should have done this, you should have done that. And I was like, yeah, I know. So I had to wind everything back, put everything back how it was. And then for me, I had to start having a bit of a reflection on myself.
What happened?
What happened? This was a very, very simple job. I had not planned it enough. I had not looked at all the pre-works. I had not accounted for the time to get the permit. So there were so many other facets of the job there that I had completely not even addressed. So after that, Ron pulled me aside and he said, look, you really need to start planning your works a little bit better. And that one little line there started me to go, okay, well, how do I plan my works better? So I started leaning more on the experienced tradesmen around there, asking more questions, check my ego at the door sort of thing. And after that, then I started, I picked up Microsoft Project, and then from there, Primavera P6. So I'd progressed through my career there. I was a project manager on some of the large mega projects out in Western Australia.
Awesome.
And there was the Cloud Break project that we turned up on site. It was about 9 months behind schedule there. And at that point then I'd been heavily investing in planning and scheduling and leaning on experienced planners and using our standardised planning practices, and also we were looking last planner methods as well. We pulled that project back and we finished it ahead of schedule.
Amazing.
So then from there, I'd been away for around about 10 years working, and it cut to the point there where I'd had to spend more time at home. I had a very young family.
Sure.
My daughter at the time, she was 3. My son, he was only about 18 months old. And I was starting to realise what I was missing out on the home side. So I came back to Newcastle, and I was picked up and brought up into group. And since then, I've been focusing wholly and solely on looking at standardised practices with planning, planning and scheduling, looking at mentoring people within the business, identifying resources there where we can actually find really, really good resources that don't necessarily come from a 100% academic background, but they're blended with a practicality from the work site and also from a trade experience as well. Why should people listen to me? Oh, well, I I like to talk, and I believe I've got some decent experience over my career. So I've been with Downer now for going on just over 27 years now.
Have you become a shareholder or something? Or
no. Like it's I've been there from the very, very ground to the coalface, then to the management side of things, then to the governance side of things. So the fact that I've been exposed to so many facets of the project management life cycle itself is very, very, very helpful.
Of course.
And then on top of that as well, to be able to work with so many really well experienced people, it's been able to accelerate my learning as well. Because nowadays, then again, since that day I checked my ego at the door at that shutdown. Big thing for me has been about learning and development.
Absolutely.
Because we never stop learning.
No.
We never stop learning. No. No matter how old or young we are, we will never stop learning. New things are always developed, and if you're not open to new things or new ideas, then you'll stagnate.
Absolutely. What I'm hearing is that, well, if there is any electrical question, probably people cannot direct that to you today, but if there is any planning and a scheduling question, that's where they wanted to basically be, and that's the guy that they wanted to talk to, isn't it?
Oh, hopefully. Yeah.
That's great. So, look, the subject for today, the power of planning, turning a strategy into execution. I understand why you have chosen this topic and why basically this is close to you from that conversation early in your career, and that profound impact that had on you, that, okay, it's not just enough to know about like the technical side of things, but the planning side of things, and being able to see the project and the tasks, predecessors and successors from a different angle. That's also what makes a lot of difference. So it's not just about the trade and technical side of things, but how they're put together, how it's planned ahead, and then also when even we do the whole planning in the best thing that we think will happen and unfold on the ground. and then comparing to what happens on the ground is basically what makes the difference in all this sort of stuff, isn't it? So great. Let's get into this. So we have got 5. There is a lot of areas to unpack and cover today, and I'm thinking, okay, let's dive into the first one: planning as a leadership, how to plan, shape success of the entire project. Let's unpack that one and see what's under that.
Yeah, sure. So planning as leadership. So one of the examples that I'd thought of was remember the movie, the John Carter from Mars movie. It came out in 2012, one of the greatest disaster movies in the history of cinematic. Disney lost about $300+ million from that movie. When you look as to why it failed, the director that they had engaged for the film, very successful director who had actually done Finding Nemo. Right. His entire experience was around animation. So they thought that this guy, he'd be great for the job. They'd slide him into this role and would make $1 million. He approached the live action movie the same way that he would approach an animation movie. Reshoots. Animation, if they need to do reshoots, they just draw another cell. But with a live action, there's the mobilization of resources, locations, people. There's so many more facets with that. And the reshoots and that blew the budget out by about $200 million.
Wow.
So when we're looking at planning as a leadership, if you don't have the right person in the right role to start off with, you're going to fail.
Sure.
You know? And then if we're looking at the team dynamic, no one single project is delivered by one single person.
Yeah, it's a teamwork.
And it's when we start to identify the individuals that are in the team, that's where the power comes from. So your planner should be an integral part of that team there. To the point there that if the project manager walked away from the job or was away for a day, the planner could actually step into that role, because essentially the planner is going to be across all the facets: the procurement, the design, the engineering, the commissioning, even the construction assets, because they need to identify all those elements to build the plan in the first place.
100%.
So again, understanding not just your planning technical capability, but it's the soft skills that go with it. How do you integrate a single person into a team so that everyone works cohesively? So I think that is one of the key elements of it.
Absolutely.
So right person in the right role.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Can agree more with that. And you're definitely not only about like the planning and scheduling people to be involved as early as possible in the project life cycle, even when it's a piece of paper, when like companies or government agencies are doing like the business case or feasibility state, it's called different in different places, but that's fine. We get the idea. But to have them involved from the very early beginning, when it's just a piece of paper or it's just an idea on the paper, so they would be able to really bring that expertise to the team and be part of a journey, and be part of a journey and basically help the team, isn't it? That's what makes a difference in, we say that, this project has been planned very well, and then that plan has executed well. That's what makes the difference, rather than just start doing this stuff, whatever you see is around, just get this one, get that one, get this task, get that task, without having the overall view of what's happening, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Because that's a really good point you bring up there, because you'll find some projects, they'll be more reactive than proactive. Okay, so if we're looking at if a project is always reactive, it's always on the back foot. Planning is always about identifying the issues on a project so that you're more proactive at identifying something that may become a problem. And if you can then assess it and model it, then you can say, well, it may or may not become a significant problem there. But if you can't actually identify it in the first place, then you're going to miss it. So the identification of it is very, very key in ensuring that your team is more proactive than reactive.
And so when planners start with the job, they start, assembling like the plans and schedules together, like identifying the work breakdown structure. Do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. So I mean, at the start of your project, you're always going to be able to have, even at the tender time, you're not going to have all the information to start off with. So you're going to be able to have to work with what you've got to start off with. But then you have to very clearly break down your work breakdown structure to begin with, so that you can then start to expand each of those areas when you start to flesh out your construction program, to be able to set your baseline. Because again, your baseline, critical. Your baseline's got to contain everything in there.
Yeah.
If you can't actually dissect your scope down to a relevant enough level, then you're always going to be trying to go into creating short-term programs, and then you're going to be expending more effort into that. So the more effort that is put into the development of the project up front, I believe, is one of the key success factors in any project.
Absolutely. I guess the thing is that when we earlier start, as you said, we do not have all the data, or we do not have all the DAs up to level 6 or level 7 or something like that. But at least it's starting from the top, understanding what are the main disciplines of this project, and doing what's called basically rolling wave planning, even, to start to getting the things, moving, gather enough information from but like the rest of the team, and understand what exactly the scope of work is all about. If you're sitting on the client side, to understand, all right, before letting this project out and putting to the tender, what do you expect from our tier 1 contractor, if it's of course big enough, or service provider, to deliver for us, and then capture that and put that basically into their schedule. If we are sitting on a like tier 1 contractor, Downer, for example, here, and we're going to go for a big project, Tangara, or any of other like divisions and projects that Downer is doing. Okay, we have gone into a tender. We know what the scope of work is all about. Of course, depend on the block, what the contract is all about. Is it DNC? Is it C? Is it triple P, or any sort of other contracts that we have got out there? But yeah, what the scope of work is all about, how we could break it down as planners into more manageable piece of work, having assembled a very good and meaningful work breakdown structure with the rest of the team, with the rest of basically the technical team and the management team.
So, I mean, that's a good point there, is that a lot of projects, they might try to put everything in there to start off with. You end up with like a 10,000 line schedule, completely unmanageable to start off with. And there's a fine line, there's a balance there in how much detail that you're going to put in to start off with. You really need to start putting enough detail in there to capture the scope 1, 2, so that if there are any delays, you can actually identify a clear critical path through that. But then if you go to granular, an example I'd always like to point out, there's a very big difference between a level 4 construction project and a level 5 shutdown program. If you try to replicate a level 5 shutdown program in a construction program, you end up creating a rod for your back at the very, very start. And then the schedule itself does not become a tool, it becomes a hindrance.
Exactly.
And again, as I said, there's a fine line there between identifying the correct level of detail in your scope versus how is it going to benefit you. I'll always say, when you're developing your initial schedule, but look at the detail, is the juice worth a squeeze? How much effort are you going to put in versus how is it going to benefit you? Or is it going to not? Is it going to be something that becomes a rod for your back?
Exactly. Yeah. So what are the important stuff we're going to write there for our audience to have a look at?
Well, I'd say
number one.
Right person for the right role.
Absolutely.
That to me, that's critical, and because you really want to identify the right people to make your blended team, because your team is blended. Everyone needs to understand a little bit about everyone's role, but be an expert in their own role.
Of course.
That way, then if one person is out of the team, everyone else can actually fill that role for the short time that they're not there.
And the project wouldn't be damaged or delayed. So everybody knows, not that deep expertise, but at least having a good understanding about, hey, what's happening like in that avenue, isn't it?
Yeah. So again, the planning really starts before you actually start your construction plan. Planning starts in planning the team. That is real. That to me, that is very, very. That's the most critical part of
planning, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right person for the right role, and then looking at dissecting the scope. My spelling.
That's all right.
Dissecting the scope to a relevant level. So again, if we put too much detail in your schedule to begin with, you have the potential to be able to create a risk for the project from day one.
Yeah.
So again, we're looking at risk management. Again, and that is a large part of all our jobs. As a planner, we are always looking at risk. What is the level of risk? What is the impact of that risk? How do we assess that risk? And we can't always be just focusing on those construction risks there. We need to be able to look at the risk of how we are going to build our team to start off with and how we're going to start our project. If we don't start on the right foot, you're always going to be behind the 8 ball.
Absolutely. And look, risk absolutely is one of those key elements and key factors. And obviously, the way I see it is that the role of planner in the risk management discipline. The thing is that anything that our planners or ourselves as planner, identify on a critical path, that could be easily linked to what basically would be a potential risk to the project, which means it's going to delay our timeline, or probably it's going to be something or some activity that is going to cost more than what it was estimated, isn't it?
Yeah.
So again, it comes down to how our planners would be able to bring all these things together among the rest of the disciplines and the rest of the team, isn't it?
And then another element there is looking at the capabilities, as I said before. You have to have somebody who has experience in the capability of what you're building.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to get somebody. You might have a planner which is heavily experienced in maybe process engineering.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to put that person on a linear road project or a tunnel project and expect them to be able to perform in the exact same manner? You might have someone who is experienced as a shutdown turnaround. Are they going to be just as effective in a large scale construction project? Probably not, because their experience is planning at a granular level.
Yeah.
We can't afford to plan at a granular level for our main construction program in a construction project. For our rolling wave, yeah, sure. For our short-term program, sure. For a last planner, sure. But aligning the capability of the planner to the project is key. So I'm going to put that down.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Hopefully everyone can understand my scribble.
That's all right. And also the planning team or planning representative at the table, isn't it? We wanted to basically have them not just when things go to construction or big machinery arrives, but much more early in the project, so they would be involved. So what do you say about having the planning voice or having planning rep at the table in all the stages of the project, from very early on, as I said, when it's even the piece of paper,
critical,
right the way through if there is a tendering process, and then to the full rollout of construction.
100% critical. And again, we've at down there, we've got from our tender to day one readiness to handover. The planner is there at every single step of the project there. And again, the reason for that is that you don't want somebody to be able to build your plan, your tender schedule in isolation, to then blindly hand it over to the construction team at your day one readiness, because then that introduces a risk there of a gap of knowledge.
Exactly.
Because at the very, very starting, your tender stage, as you know, everyone's around the table. We're talking about subcontractors, procurement, our design, our engineering. So everyone needs to be able to have all that information collated together. So one thing that we do is that we have ourselves, we call them a scoping session.
Right.
At the very, very beginning there. So we have our planner in the room, and then we bring in all the subject matter experts from all the different capabilities, their design, procurement, construction, commissioning, and everyone turns down and we will go through the scope. Dissect the scope, and those workshops may take 1 day, they may take 3 days, depending on the size and the complexity of your project. But the planner is there the whole time facilitating it.
Exactly.
So the planner is the person that's going to be facilitating. Because again, we need to get away with this old school idea of the planner is a person who sits in the corner over there.
In their own box.
And everyone says, what do? Well, they produce these really nice pictures that they go on the wall, and once a week they'll ask us questions and we tell them answers, and I don't know what they do with it. We need to be moving away from this whole idea of that the planner is somebody who is just an ancillary element of your project there. The planner is one of the most key elements of your project there, and having them engaged as early as possible, that's going to drive more success. Again, you need about 80% of your effort up front, because then that'll pay dividends down the back end where you're actually going to spend less time in managing your schedule and your project because you've done all those pre-works.
Absolutely. Can't stress on that enough. That's the importance role of basically planners and schedulers all the way through the project life cycle. In particular, the very good point that you mentioned that if we have got a planning team that have been involved in very early stage of the project, they have got intimate knowledge about even if we're sitting on a contractor side, they have got intimate knowledge about what has gone to the tender, how they have assembled things together. But moving to the delivery, then those unless there would be a way that they would be able to hand over this, the whole intimate knowledge about how they have thought about the things, how they have planned the things, how they have envisaged that things will unfold on the ground to the delivery team, there would be a gap, and that gap is basically where is killing the projects. And
100%.
They go to the delivery and execution with some assumptions that things will go right, but if that knowledge is not there, we have a problem, don't we?
And there's no way that you can fill that gap. Once knowledge is gone, it's gone. And part of our process is from the very, very tender process, we start a basis schedule, and we document the process as part of that tender process through to the day one readiness, to the handover, to then the construction team. So the basis schedule remains a live document throughout the whole process. It's an area, it becomes that vehicle where you can collect that information. If you don't have that information, you can't just rewind time and find that information there. And on top of that as well, your planner will also come to the table with experience of they may have executed a very similar project in the past there. What were issues? What were risks? So they can then bring to the table there the past experience from that same capability.
100%. Great. Are we pretty much done with number one? I mean, we can talk about it forever, but I'm conscious of time as well to go through and be able to cover the whole areas today. Are we pretty much good with number one, you think, or probably you wanted to add something there, maybe, or moving to number two?
Yep, I think we're pretty good. I think the only other thing is that from the very onset there, again looking at planning as leadership, the ability of planners to be aware that they can speak up.
Oh yes.
That they've got a voice, and there's many times there. Again, this goes back to that whole idea of the person in the corner there. And again, people really need to understand that as a planner, even as any member of that team there, you've got a voice. You're there at the table because you're experienced. And a lot of people, they don't necessarily understand that. A lot of planners will find they're more introverts as well. They'll sit in the corner. They're happy to sit in the corner. They like sitting in the corner.
It's not helping.
It doesn't help there.
No.
It's not to say that they're not encouraged to speak. They just feel that in past projects they may have been treated poorly. But again, with the projects that we execute, it's driven and it's from the very onset. Planners, everyone has a voice. As long as everyone is aware that they've got a voice, that's going to drive a cohesive team, and it's going to drive collaboration as well.
Absolutely.
It's going to drive more of that collaborative environment where people feel safe to be able to say something. That's going to drive success at the end of the day.
100%. Great. That's very good. We're progressing through this very well. Number 2, connecting strategy to the schedule. What comes under that?
So, again, planners are aware, are involved in every facet of our project execution. And I think I want to just address the center, planner versus scheduler.
Oh, yes.
We've got in the center planner, scheduler, where there's a very clear distinction there that we hold between a planner and a scheduler. A scheduler, they can run the applications. They know where every button is, and they'll be able to translate what is told to them to be able to visualize it in an application. And we have many schedulers within our industry. Planners, on the other hand, they're a lot more rarer. Planners come to the table understanding their capability. You don't necessarily have to explain to them what the scope is. I mean, if you said you wanted to build a coal handling plant, for instance, well, they'll be able to ask, how many spirals, secondary. They'll actually understand that capability because they've actually either built it before or they've been on many projects where they have done that for. So for us, a planner is more valuable because they bring to the table not just the technical side, but they also bring to the table the construction elements of it, which have been built through lessons learned. Good projects, bad projects, but again, it comes down to those lessons learned. So when we start looking at connecting strategy, a planner has to also be very aware of the commercial aspects of a project as well. What type of contract is it? What's the contract model? What is in the contract? They actually have to read it. Again, that's where we go back to. We're looking at if the project manager is away for a couple of days, the planner should be able to step into that role there to be able to help coordinate everyone else on that team there. Because again, building the scheduler to start off with, they've been exposed to the commercial side of things because you'll walk through what is the contract model, what are the stakeholders' key objectives, how are we going to deliver the key objectives of the stakeholder in line with the contract. Then they're looking at the design, the procurement, the commissioning. So for us, connecting strategy is that the planner has to also build the schedule with a commercial view in mind as well.
Of course,
And then the way I like to explain that is the schedule has to be used as a sword and shield. It's used as a short sword to be able to execute your project works out there. Used as a shield to be able to fend from any contractual obligations.
Exactly.
So the shield side of things is, it's used in because again, your contract will reference the schedule, when you're looking at extension of time claims and, again, who owns the float? Let's go enough talk about that. But again, it's building a successful schedule comes in where you actually have to clearly understand the commercial aspects of, and then also building that with a balance. You can't just build a very commercially rigorous schedule because then it's pretty much useless from a construction aspect. Because if you send that schedule out to the construction side,
they don't get it.
They look at it and they go, what is that? Throw it away. This is what we're going to do. And then we start to divert from the plan. And then as soon as we start to divert from the plan, because we have a poor plan to start off with, then you're introducing more risk to your project there. Okay.
Look, 100%. It's really important to block identify, as you mentioned. So the schedule that our planners are going to prepare to have enough level of details, and also, as you mentioned, with having that lens of commercial side of things, not to lose sight of that. For example, if we have got major delivery milestone, they can't be missed. I mean, if we are supposed to, for example, if we're doing engineering DNC contract, and there are particular and firm terms about when the engineering is going to be 30%, 50%, 80%, all of these need to be captured in the schedule. Or if there is any major milestone that, for example, the client is supposed to give you the site access at this point of time, if that's not captured in the schedule and everything is tied to that, and then imagine the site access to the contractor is basically delayed for a month, what happens? Then everybody says, okay, well, it's just a month. It's not a month.
Yeah.
It's about, for a contractor, when you're putting that lens on, it's about 1 month's worth of all overheads and all the resources
Correct.
that have been allocated to this project and are waiting, that are waiting on the guide, and they don't have access to the site, or they can't acquire the site to start the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
The very definition of time is money.
Oh yeah, and these are the milestones, and these are like as you said, back to the point that you mentioned about like contractual obligation and what's in the, yeah, these are exactly those milestones, and we wanted to see them like in our schedules, and monitor them very carefully, to understand, okay, what are the obligation from the contract, from the like client side, if they have to deliver to us something. If I'm doing a C contract and I'm supposed to get the whole design, AFC design from my client at a certain point of time, those milestones, we wanted to see them.
You do.
Absolutely in the schedule. And if there is any delay, you wanted to like raise those delays as early as possible and say, look, guess what? 1st of April, we were supposed to have like 100 AFC drawings. Where are they? They're not there. And guess what? Everything that me as a contractor, I wanted to start, digging and doing this stuff is basically tied to that point. So if you simply move that point 3 weeks later down the track, what do you think the impact will be on the whole thing that I'm going to deliver for you?
Correct, yeah.
For the whole machinery that's basically sitting idle on site, just waiting to see where they need to start digging. Just without having those AFC drawings, you simply can't do that.
No.
And that's where all of those major milestones are going to be really captured perfectly well into our schedule, and then have conversation about those, isn't it?
And again, it's exactly right. I mean, we're looking at clearly understanding the rights and obligations of all our key stakeholders. Again, that is the strategy, because again, we need to deliver our projects to our stakeholders where we are meeting our obligations and they are meeting their obligations. Because again, it's a project it's a living, breathing organism at the end of the day. It's always evolving, but having a very, very accurate schedule there, it helps keep that living, breathing organism on track. Yeah. Otherwise, it just starts to grow and becomes unmanageable, and then we look at you have project failures.
Exactly.
So I think the rights and obligations for all stakeholders identified. And that is one of the key roles of your planner, is to be able to understand them, and 2, how to translate them, as you said, into your schedule there, where they can easily be used to be able to manage the stakeholders.
Absolutely. Great. What do we have left on the number 2? I think we pretty much covered everything, keeping this strategy alive.
Yeah, again, if we're understanding the critical path, understanding the critical path can only be clearly understood if you have a schedule which has been built with enough detail. Yeah. And as we said before, if you've got too much detail in there, you potentially may end up creating a rod for your back. And then it's the how do planners challenge? I think that's one of the key points there as well. If there are unrealistic strategies which are being put forward, the planner should always be the one there who can challenge them. But not challenge them out of emotion. Challenge them out of fact.
Exactly.
Like evidence. Yeah. You need to be able to model, essentially, what would be the impacts of that unrealistic schedule. Are you, again, you might have too many resources on a specific task to pull the duration in, but then if you physically look at the footprint of where you're working, you're actually you're most definitely creating more of a safety hazard. Therefore, it's unrealistic, because the underlying tone with all of our schedules that we build, and this is again one of the key elements of the planner, understanding the contract, understanding the capability, is safety. Yeah, safety is key. Is key to everything. If we don't build a safe program, a safe schedule, then we are introducing risk from day one, and that's unacceptable.
Exactly.
It's completely unacceptable because if you put an unrealistic schedule out to a construction team and expect them to be able to follow it, then you have introduced safety risks to your project by default. And if somebody gets injured, that is unacceptable. In our eyes, it is completely unacceptable. Everyone turns up and goes home in the same manner every single day. So understanding that, so if it's connecting strategy, safety.
Oh, yes.
Safety is, again, in my eyes, it's key. And again, coming from a construction background, then, and this is, again, the difference between a planner and a scheduler there. A planner who has been out on the sites, who has built these things, they will look at things with more of that safety lens as well. They'll look at a top-down view of their project site and say, well, look, we can't fit 20 people in this footprint here. Or actually, in that footprint, we've actually got cranes who will be sitting there and they'll be slewing cranes. And, actually, that's a 250-ton crane, so therefore the slew radius of that crane there is going to block out most of that area. Again, that's the benefit of that planner there, is having that visualisation of the logistics of the project as well. You've got truck movements, you've got plans and operations there. Having that understood clearly is going to then be able to allow them to be able to give that experience to building the schedule in the first place. So if there is a unrealistic strategy, they've got that to be able to back it up.
100%. Look, and that's exactly where it comes to the difference between really good planner and a scheduler who is basically just the tool user, and they are a great keyboard warrior, the keyboard warriors that basically do a lot of good stuff, predecessors and successors, and linking this to that thing. But when it comes to that understanding about really what happens on the ground and what unfolds on the ground, they haven't got that, because by just getting a certificate from any training institutes, that they teach people like Prima P6, you're not going to get and absorb that knowledge. It's just by being in the trenches, being on site, and having that understanding and seeing that when there are all these machineries and all these activities happening, and you still are squeezing and introducing more activities to be done at the same time. As you said, you simply are introducing, of course, unintentionally, more risk to your project.
Yes.
So you're not benefiting the delivery team, not at all. You're just putting everybody at risk really by introducing extra layer of risk, which is we have got a very, very regulated construction industry. The good thing is that in Australia and all the tier one contractors that I have seen, they have got zero tolerance for any of things like this. So they say, as you said, people need to come to work, do their job, and go back home safe in one piece, hopefully. Okay.
100%.
And anything, here or there, it's not acceptable at all, really. So
this is the only way you can gain that experience is on the job.
Of course.
You cannot learn this in a classroom. You can only learn that on the job there. So it's one of the key elements for our planners there, is to be able to understand, visualize, and then translate that vision into a schedule which can be used for execution there in a safe manner.
100%. Great. Moving on to the role of visibility using data and dashboards.
Yes.
What is it? Is it Power BI? What's happening in here, Doc? Tell us.
Yeah. So again, Power BI. It's one of the most popular, and we use our Power BI dashboards there. So we're a Primavera house again, but we still use Microsoft Project because again we're contractors. We're a slave to our clients. If a client wants to use MSP, we'll use it. If they want to use P6, we'll use it. If they want to use butcher's paper and crayons, well, we can use that as well. We cater to what the client requires. But again, with our Power BI reports, I've developed our visualizations over the past decade. So I've been in my role for 13 years now, and I look back at the first dashboards that I developed. They're all in Excel. You know?
That's what I was thinking of. Where those dashboards have been developed, surely there should be a lot of difference from back those times till now, isn't it?
100%. It's funny. I look at the original dashboards that I put together, and again, they were done in Excel. Yeah. The level of effort required to build those dashboards, massive, and we need to be able to have ourselves processes which are easy. And again, technology has made our life easier. Yeah. And it's something nowadays where if we can connect our Power BI, sit it over the top of our P6 database there, so we're naturally extracting the data out, magic. I remember 10 years ago there where we were actually running exports out into Excel, and then you're shaping the data, and then you're building your graphs, and then you're getting all your colours right, and a very manual process, and it's not necessarily a good use of a planner's time either. So having this Power BI is brilliant. So we've got our Power BI sits over the top of our P6 database. Our data extracts out at midnight every single night there, so everything's getting updated every single day. And we've had to be able to look at specific metrics, which in one, it's going to be common to all projects, but also have the ability to be able to develop project-specific dashboards there, which are going to be able to meet the contract obligations or the stakeholders' obligations or for each project. So in the Power BI, it's really, for me, any report, it's got to be a story.
Yeah.
It's got to tell a story.
Exactly. Project story.
Yeah, it's got to have like a once upon a time, not necessarily a happy ever after, but who do you go see?
Yeah.
It's got to, like a report, it really has to be intuitive. Yeah. Nobody wants to get a report there that they have to decipher. Because again, everyone's busy. Everyone's got so much on every single day that you don't want to have the time there to sit there and try to decipher what is put in front of you. Yeah. So the Power BI reports that we develop there, they are more intuitive. We look at a lot of traffic light systems, their RAG results there, S-curves. S-curves, they're great. And it's not just single-sided. We look at our double-sided because we look at our early start, late finish, and are we working within the envelope? Because again, for me, if I had a single-sided S-curve and I'm above the S-curve, what does that tell me? How far? How far am I to my early starts?
Exactly.
You might be still sitting within the threshold there, but it would, if you only had a single side, well, you then have to then ask more questions, or you have to delve down deeper to be able to get that next answer there. So we raise that up there so that it's already answered for you. So again, having dashboards are great. One of the big risks that we find is that people start getting into data mining. And you planners, look, planners, we love data. Data is so great. It's so tasty. It's like we can get every skerrick of data and then we can build these amazing reports from it. But again, is the juice worth the squeeze? How much effort are you putting into building these reports versus what are you going to get out of it? And that's what, again, I look back at what the reports I did 10 years ago. Oh, there was a lot of effort.
Oh, it was,
a lot
everything
of effort.
manual as well.
Very manual as well. But in saying that as well, the time between identifying an issue on your project to then getting it into your report, to visualize it so you could get it out to the management team so people could action it, long time. Because you had that very manual process in there. Again, Power BI these days, you can actually, the data's all getting extracted, it's getting shaped, it's getting visualized, all within the application. But it's the key part of it is, what are you going to visualize? What is going to go on a page there which says, once upon a time, there was an issue and this person will tell you the answer. And having metrics there that you can use that can be common across all your projects there. BEI, your baseline execution index, your plan versus actual. These things, they're very, very simple metrics that you can actually use to check to see how the project is progressing against your baseline. And in saying that as well, as you know, every single project you'll start to add changes and changes and changes. So you need to be able to clearly identify how much of the scope work versus the variation work. So they're elements that we put on our our visualizations for our dashboards nowadays. So again, having, to me, I would say clear reports that tell a story.
Oh, yes.
Again, identify risks for key stakeholders to address.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Shorten the time between identification and resolution. So there's some of the key elements there that, again, like a report has to tell a story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you have to spend time trying to decipher what the report is, then it's wasting time. And then if that report is constantly coming out and you have to decipher, it'll get pushed to the side. So then it won't be a tool anymore. So then we're talking about something which is then chewing up time. It's wasted time.
Yeah.
We need to be more efficient of our time on our projects every single day there, so that we are not, one, wasting time, two, we're not getting frustrated. Because again, frustrations would be introduced there if you're getting a report that you just don't understand because it hasn't been created with that lens in mind of it's got to tell a story.
Absolutely. I like that analogy, by the way, like that. I've seen and been on many, many projects that we have reports just for sake of having the reports, okay?
Yeah.
And which later in the project, it becomes just, the administration burden.
Yeah.
And people are not even going to look at it. But on a weekly basis, they see that something pops up in the mailbox. This is another weekly report. Again, But it's not going. But they're not going to open that up. That tells them their story, as you said. What has happened in past week? What has changed? Have we had any deviation from the original scope of work? What has happened so far? So to tell them their story and give them the latest update that they need to know, and everybody take that to their own discipline or whatever they're doing on the project, and use that as a tool to make informed decision. So it doesn't become like just an administration burden that everybody just says, this is another report. And even they don't want to look at it, you know what I mean? So being up to the point and having exactly the right level of information, of course, for the right audience. When you're preparing, some very good and high level report for executives of the company, definitely that's going to be different. When you're preparing your report for, like, you wanted to give your, for example, engineering team or construction team 1 month look ahead. Definitely they're going to be different and because the audience is different. So really being up to the point and having clear understanding about that. What is their story or what's the purpose of this report? We're not just preparing it for sake of preparing it and having like some administration. No, we want to really to get the best use of time and basically planners. And that's where the role of planner becomes very important. All those reports that they're preparing, it's not like, well, just chuck another like 300 pages of a Primavera at the back of the report. What's the point of that on a weekly basis? Who is going to read that?
Have a benefit. It has to have a benefit as well. So again, part of our project dashboards there, which they're just a drill down from the portfolio, part of the element of the project dashboards is I'll have you always got your reports which are based off your metrics, which are coming off the data from P6. There's many times there where the data is potentially showing a poorer image than what is actually happening on the project there. So part of the reports there will have essentially the assessment coming from the metrics, but it'll also have a project narrative. I think this is very, very, very important, and it also leads back to what we were talking before about planning and leadership there. Because if the planner generates reports there that says that the project is 10% behind schedule, it's got a BEI of 0.75 against the baseline, people go, things are not looking good here. Project manager comes in and says, well, we've actually got an EOT submitted, it's been approved, it hasn't been reflected in the baseline yet, we haven't had a re-baseline sent through yet. We've got an agreement with the client here. So actually, no, we're in a good position. If you believe the metrics coming out of P6 100%, it actually ignores the reality of what is actually happening in the background there from a commercial side of things, your engineering, your procurement side of things. Yeah. So you need to have that contextual narrative there. And the planner needs to be aware of that as well. Because the planner needs to be able to look at the metrics and say, well, I know that there's an EOT has been submitted, and I know that the client is accepted, or I know that procurement item is being delayed, but we've spoken to an expediter and they can still get it here within time. Having that clear understanding there paints a better picture and also paints a more accurate dashboard.
It does, 100%.
So I'll add on here a project contextual narrative. Because again, if we just focus wholly and solely on on what's coming out of the data, and we blindly believe the data, you could potentially cause more problems for your project than is actually required.
100%. Yeah, the fact is that we want to really schedules and plans on the project to be really the single source of truth. So everything really is reflected on that. Everything has been captured on that. And so everybody could easily from anywhere in the project or organization could basically log into that and say, well, this is where we are, this is where we're going, this is what has happened. And everything really to that acceptable level of detail is sort of captured into the most updated version of the schedule. Great. All right, so we have got number 4 here, decision making through planning. When to hold the line and when to adapt or maybe relax.
What's
under that?
We've got it. We can talk for hours on this one.
Sure.
So again, as I said before, the schedule, your project is a living, breathing organism, and if it's not managed correctly, it'll get out of control. We've got changes will always affect our project every single day. Clearly understanding, capturing those changes in the first instance, or even identifying delays or changes. That's a very key thing as well. Again, I remember back when I was a leading hand on a project, and my supervisor would give me a whole list of things that I had to do for the day. And I'd gone out there was a crane in the way, so I went, I'm not going to do that. So I moved on to something else, and I got my day's worth of work done. Came back at the end of the day, he said, did you get that cable ladder put up? I said, no, there was a crane in the way, so I went over here and there was an open gap over there, so I did that. And he goes, so was the crane supposed to be there? I went, no, they just turned up and said they need to do something quickly. So he said, how long were they there? I said, they were there all day actually. So
all day.
He said, so you do realise that's a delay? I went, is it? No, he's me. I'm a young leading hand there. So identifying delays, very, very key to start off with. Again, identifying any events. Now, understanding what is an event, what is a compensable cause of delay under your contract. You got to read your contract, and then those delays, events, and changes there, they actually have to then be modelled within your schedule to be able to identify what's the impact. What is the net effect impact on the schedule there? Also understanding, is there a concurrent delay which is currently in effect? Who's ball in court at the moment? Who's got ball in court? Understanding all those things there is very, very critical, because in all these events, they will impact your critical path.
It will for sure. No worries. So we have got a scenario modeling that comes on the decision making through planning, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So that's again the part of your planner's job is to be able to take those events and model them in the schedule. Off to the side there, so they can present that as evidence to the team there to say, well, this is what I believe is going to be the impact of this event there. So modelling and scenarios and what ifs and reflections, that's very, very critical of a planner's job. Again, if they're sitting in the corner there, well, this is the things they should be doing while sitting in the corner there. But again, they need to be at the table there with everyone of that team there, so that they can then essentially visualize what is this event, what is the impact of this event.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, look, exactly. I mean, and during the project life cycle, this is what becomes really important, to be able to identify all of these events and do the scenario modeling and then present it back to the team, so the team have got a full understanding. Well, if we do this, this is the consequence in a timeline. It may even change the course of our critical path. Our critical path goes somewhere else. But if we don't do it, and if we don't do this and do approach the work a little bit differently like this, then this would be the consequence. And this is the beauty of it, because with all these tools and technology that we have, we could run the models, we could run the scenarios, present it to the team, and bring the previous experience from the other or similar projects to the table as well. And then everybody could come to the table and make an informed decision. Okay, if we go down this path, this is what we're going to happen.
Yeah.
If we're going to go down that path, that's what's going to happen. These are the time impacts. These are the cost impacts. What's the best way to do it? Make a decision. Go and get it executed, isn't it?
100%. Well, when you look at again, I guess said who's ball in court. If there is a client-driven delay there, well, again, we as a subcontractor, we are required to try to mitigate the effects of delay. To the extent where we're not accelerating for time or cost.
Of course.
Okay. But again, if it's our delay, then we start to look at, okay, how are we going to mitigate that delay? Okay. So then that turns into a full decision-making process as to the strategy of how we're going to approach our project then. Are we going to accelerate? Are we going to crash the critical path? Are we going to just bring more resources onto the project? Can we bring more resources on the project?
There's a practical element to bring more resources.
Yeah, and we might be on a remote job there where we've got beds which are associated with our business. So we might not be able to bring more resources on. We can't just bring 50 guys in because there's nowhere for them to sleep. So the understanding these elements to start off with, that's very, very critical.
100%. Yeah, but I mean, definitely that's what drives what drives how best the project could be planned, but also the plan to be followed through. And not everything obviously goes to plan, but when the things change, when there are the impacts, when there are delays, we'd be able to, as a good planner, we'd be able to analyze the situation, understand the whole 30, 60 degree of the situation, what this is about, run some scenarios, bring it to the team. So this is basically what is making, again, back to the point of good planner and a scheduler, isn't it?
100%. Well, look at, again, any problem on any project there, it's only a combination of a lot of small problems. And you have to identify what is the most important small problem to attack first, so that you can actually start to get yourself to that final solution there. And again, when any issues on a project, it only comes under one of three banners there when it looks at your people, process, or tools.
Of course.
See, the people, process, or tools there. Again, having a clear understanding of the capabilities of your people, what processes do you have in place, and what tools do you have? That allows you then to be able to define your strategy of how you're going to attack any of these delays there. So again, with Downer, we've got our Downer standard. It's a very, very comprehensive standardised set of documents, procedures and processes there, which we will fall back on for any of our projects there.
Amazing. So if in a project we have got some delays that has happened and the critical path is going to change, what are among the first things that you would do? How do you recommend for our planners to basically assess the situation, and what would be the likely course of action that we can take in there?
Again, first thing is identifying the delay. Two, is it a compensable or a non-compensable cause of delay? Okay, because that's going to be able to form your strategy going forward.
Of course.
Okay, if it's a compensable cause of delay, okay, now we actually have to start to look at modelling it. Are we doing a retrospective? So we're going to start off with a retrospective analysis, we're going to start off with a prospective analysis. How long is this delay going to take? And then in part of that, we're going to coordinate with the rest of the team there, specifically the commercial elements in the team and your project manager, so that then we're going to be communicating that issue of that delay to the client as soon as possible, so we are not going to fall into time bar periods. Then throughout the process of that delay, you're going to run a contemporaneous an assessment throughout the whole process there. When the delay finishes, you're going to run a retrospective there to be able to wrap everything up. So again, my advice for any of these elements is a prospective, contemporaneous, retrospective for the entire course there, while in complete communication with your commercial manager and your project manager.
Amazing. Let's write that down.
That's right, yeah. There's going to be a lot
That's a good point, yeah.
Yep.
Amazing. Great. No, that's very good. That's very good. And the last one, but not the least one, lessons from major projects. Well, who doesn't like to learn from other people's mistakes? You tell me. So, tell us a bit more about some of good lessons that have been learned from previous projects, obviously with the Downer Group. What's good to talk about here?
Within Downer, then 13 years ago, we created the PMO, and the role of the PMO was to be able to identify areas of the business where we're having losses and how we could actually, how we can reduce losses, major losses, and drive success for our project. Again, in the past 13 years, it's been highly successful in stopping major losses on our projects there, but also understanding the reasons why. So lessons learned is a huge element of our business. Nat. Again, I never say that we don't fail. We never fail at our projects. And again, if you've never failed as a leader, you're not truly a leader.
That is true.
If you've never failed, you're not a leader because you don't know how to get yourself back up again. How do you dust yourself off? How do you approach it then to be able to drive success going forward? And again, lessons learned, huge thing. So again, we don't fail, we just learn. And again, from a personal perspective there, I always say, I don't fail. I don't have that negative view of myself there. I may not win every single time, but I'll tell you what, I'd learn every single time there. And if we go forward with that attitude there of that, we're going to learn. Way in the past there, we say we're going to have a lessons learned. And the project manager would think, oh, this is a witch hunt as to what went wrong and that. And it's not the case. Lessons learned is working out how we can do our business better. How are we going to be able to move forward to be able to then replicate the good and fix the bad? And the planner themselves, they will then bring to the table there all the elements that ended up with a successful or an unsuccessful project there, because they've been at the hub, that single source of truth at the centre there for the whole process from cradle to grave. So then, lessons learned that I've learned from projects. Big one for me is I'm a very big believer with last planner. Right. Last planner, it's good because you can actually break down a Gantt chart schedule into sticky tabs on a board there. Simplify it, because again, you can't just run a schedule out to every single subcontractor out there. No. They might not understand it. They might not have the application in the first place. To them, it's just colours on a page there. It doesn't mean much to them because, again, they don't need to. Okay, so then dissecting your schedule down so that you can clearly communicate it. Again, really important thing about a schedule. If you cannot communicate your schedule, it's useless. Yeah. If you can't communicate something, it's useless. No matter how structurally good it looks, how
colourful
detailed,
it looks,
or how colourful it looks, it doesn't really matter. If you can't communicate it, then it's a failure straight off the bat there. So for me, I kind of put the main lessons learned down is communication.
Exactly.
Communication, key. Yeah. So being then able to look at again, I like Last Planner because Last Planner is more about the conversation than it is about the work. Okay, you're having that conversation there. Your Last Planner session should run for about 10 to 15 minutes tops. So that you are then identifying the issues, but you're also having the conversation as well, because people will then be able to. Some people they might not be able to communicate well by email or by an Excel spreadsheet. Subcontractors are definitely not going to finish the day by writing a report or building an Excel spreadsheet. They'll verbalize it. Okay, so having a session there where you can actually verbalize issues, key issues on a day-to-day basis there, which then can be then rolled into the next day, all the while where you're looking at your 2-3 week look ahead there. So you're identifying the impacts on a daily basis on your schedule there, so that then you can then rectify them in a very timely manner, rather than, I'm doing my weekly update, we've got issues, what are we going to do? So then you might come up with a strategy that might not get implemented till midway through the next week. It's too long.
It is.
Okay. So again, I love Last Planner, and it's all about the conversation.
Exactly.
Because the conversation, again, it's key because you're looking at you're leveraging your team. And I said at the start there, no one single person executes a project there. The team drives the project success there. If the team is unable to verbalize, okay, and we're humans, we speak. Look at us now. We are speaking, we're conversing now, and we're learning. We are learning because we're speaking, we're engaging. The new world these days, everyone's going down the path of AI, and AI has its places,
of course,
but it will never replace the human connection.
I agree.
Because people, when you converse in a civil manner, there you can always come to a resolution. And that's, I think, is one of the key parts of the driving the conversation there. Getting our heads out of the tablets, out of the mobile phones, out of the computers there, leveraging each individual person's individuality, their diversity, and bringing that to the table there, that's what drives success. Because we learn off each other. When we finish our projects, that team then, it is a highly efficient team because one, everyone has got trust. Again, you don't gain trust through an application through an AI. You gain trust through human connection, through the communication and the conversations that we have throughout the course of that project there. So again, one of the greatest lessons learned that I can actually say today is the human connection with conversation. Bringing that element there actually is able to then put onto the table the issues that then can be translated into the schedule there to be able to model what might happen there. But it can never come unless you have the conversation to start off with.
Absolutely. And I have seen a lot of successful teams, and when you look at what's in common between all of them is that, for example, it's a team in this case, like Downer has got like major projects, and there is a team in there. They have been really good, performing very well, and then they sort of coming to the end of that project, and assuming the same team is deployed to the next project, they have been I have seen it a lot, that they have been very, very high performing because the trust is in there. They have been through all of the things, on the first project. The trusts have been built. They have gone through all of the team building, norming, storming, all of that sort of thing. So for the next project, they're just ready to go. They're just ready to go. They just hit the ground running. The relationships have been built. The trust is there. They know how everybody performs. What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? So they could easily go to the next job, and all those relationships, all those trusts, all those way of doing things already have been established. And that's why we see the high-performing team are those that have previously worked together on previous projects, and now they deployed to a brand new project. A project may be a brand new, a scope definitely would be brand new, but the connection between these people and his team is what going to make a huge difference comparing to a team that they haven't worked with each other at all and they have got no knowledge about each other or their personality, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is again like I've been down to 27 years, and one of the reasons why I've stayed with Downer is because of the people I work with. You know, the people I work with, again, my success is their success.
Of course.
I mean, the main person I work with, Adam McClellan, he's our main risk manager for the business. We've worked together for 20 years.
Nice.
You know, we feed off each other, but we drive success together. Yeah. You know, it's not a matter that he answers to me. We work together.
Yeah.
And that is one of the key elements we're working within Downer, and that is the driving that team element there. We've got some some exceptional high performing execution teams within our transmission and utilities business over there. You know, they are specialised in the area, but they've all been working together over in our New Zealand business there with our Hawkins business, their vertical construction. These guys have been working together for decades. You know, high performing teams drive success. But at the center of every one of those teams there, you've got a planner. You know, and the planner there is there to be able to collate all that information there so they can rationally visualize it, and at the end of the day, from a lessons learned, say this was good and this was bad. So again, having that planner there from number one there all the way through to number 5 there, the planner has been a key element in every single area there, and the planner is one of the people who will drive the conversations at that last lesson, that last point there for the lessons learned. Again, they are a neutral party. They will just drive the conversations there because they've been at the centre of every single one of these conversations from start to finish.
100%. Great. Do you see, under the lesson list, do you see any patterns for failure in the projects?
We do, yeah.
And again, what are those?
I'll go straight back to my first point in the first one, right person for the right role.
Yeah.
You know, it's the number one issue that we see across the board there. And this is no detraction upon any individual across the business there. What this is, it is a common issue that we see across all projects, all businesses, everywhere. We get projects, we put people on those projects, and they might not be the best person for that project there. Yeah. Because that then lends into we need to be able to be training our people as well. You know, and how do you get training unless you're training in that specific capability there? You know, the job market in Australia here, it can get it's very, very tight where we're after experienced people all the time. Again, a lot of the time, a lot of the businesses across Australia, everyone they'll go get consultants into the business. You know, that doesn't really increase your bench strength because everyone's then feeding off the same consultants. Yeah. So trying to build that capability internally, that's key. Yeah. And so it's something that within Downer for probably our past close to 10 years now, the business has been heavily focusing on identifying key individuals within the business there that we can then train up. So we put them on smaller projects and then tier them up, and throughout the whole process there, we've got the governance process from group. We've got a huge L&D process there which supports these people then, so that everyone can have themselves a career pathway. So we're building that internal bench strength there. Awesome. You know, we're not just relying on external resources, we're building that internal bench strength. Again, for me, it's about I need to identify really good resources within the business there that have that construction experience, that capability, and can they become a planner, you know? Because they're the people that I want, that I can then actually mentor into then, okay, you're now got that construction ability, we've taught you the technical side of things there, and go run this job, you know? Amazing.
What do you see future of planning, AI, all that sort of jazz that's going on at the moment? What's the future for planners?
There'll always people say that AI will replace everyone's role there, and if we're looking at the progression of AI in itself will never do that. When we start talking about AGI, the generative, that's the sort of stuff there where we will run the risk as an industry if people start to put more faith in AGI. You know, we'll start hearing conversations about, this AI model over here said that, you know, one thing that AI will never have is the human experience and the human connection there.
Oh, yeah.
And also one thing that AI will never, ever have is the gut feel. Everyone gets that gut feel.
Yeah.
You know, it's an intangible thing because, there's just something about this. You always hear that on every single project. Oh, there's something about it. I've got a gut feel about this. You know, AGI, AI, it will never be able to replace that, because at the end of the day, as fast as AI learns, humans can learn fast as well. Obviously, never as fast as AI. When they're looking at the projection of AGI, they've got to say we've got about 3 years before we're going to get to a tipping point within the world.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's with what we've got at the tools we've got at the moment, AI can be used to be able to automate some specific tasks. So manual tasks out there. I mean, if you can run a schedule through, say like Acumen Fuse.
Oh yeah.
It'll run through. It'll collate where all your missing predecessors, successors are, and that. That's just something which is a manual job which has been sped up. You know, because again, I don't know about you, but I hate reviewing manually, trying to find all those manual things. Again, it's not a good use of our time at the end of the day.
It is not, no.
You know, so I think AI does have a place,
Sure.
but its place is as a support service to the actual human teams of the project there,
That does the job, yeah.
that bring the experience from past projects there. You know, and again, that's not really, it's not a digital experience. You know, the AI will be able to decipher a solution based off the evidence put before it. But if it's not given all the information, there's no way it can come out with the most number one solution from it. So it does have its place, but at the end of the day, reviewing projects, nothing beats opening the schedule up and actually looking at it and identifying the logic in it and looking at the critical path, analysing it against your past experience there.
100%. I like that. No worries at all.
I'm just going to say here that AI has a place
For sure.
as a support element.
100%. Yeah.
And I don't think it'll ever replace planners and schedulers within the business, because once we get to the point there where we are starting to defer to AI, we've lost it long ago. If we're at the point where we're deferring to AI, well, we lost it already.
Yeah.
You know, we've gone past that tipping point there where we're relying on the experience of our project managers and planners and our teams, our human teams within the business. So we can never, ever defer.
Yeah.
It can be used to be able to check and support, but never as the primary source.
Oh, yeah. I agree. No, great. So I'm thinking to ask you about some good book recommendation for our audience. I'm sure they appreciate some good book recommendation. I always ask this question at the back end of our podcast too. So the guest will share any good book recommendation that they have got, and go for it.
So one of them, I've got a couple here. So the first one, it's called "It's Not About the Shark" by David Niven.
Right.
It's very, very interesting read. It's about solving the unsolvable problems.
Right.
So it starts off as about the Jaws movie, how Steven Spielberg, he had the big Jaws prosthetic shark and that, but it kept sinking, it kept breaking down. It was more of a problem. So that's why they changed the whole film to be where it's not about the shark. You never saw Jaws for most of the movie. So the solving the problem was not about solving the shark. It was about not seeing it. So it's a really, really good book about how do you approach problems.
Yeah.
Second one, a really good crime thriller one I just read released recently called The Only One Left by Riley Sadler.
Right.
Great. Like it's a edge of your seat, like a very Richard Osman, Agatha Christie style murder mystery one. Absolutely brilliant. Like that one, it has you going until literally the last page. That's one of the best ones. And the last one I read was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. he wrote the Martian, and the Project Hail Mary. It's a very, very good movie. It's a very good book, turned into a movie next year. But I won't give spoilers, but if you like science fiction and that, it's a really, really good book.
Awesome. Great. No, look, that was really great conversation today. It was really great to have you here unpacking all of this.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
We can go for hours and hours, but limited amount of time that we have available. I'm really happy that we attend to a lot of good, stuff here and unpack a lot of good subjects here, and I'm sure our audience will appreciate that. Thank you very much for coming here today.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks. Awesome.